Yeah, is a head gasket worth it? Yes. Yes, okay? Yeah. Video over. Yeah, that's right, head gaskets are worth it. Some might say that your engine can't even really run without one, but I know you've been on Craigslist or on eBay Motors looking at cars and you find one. It's perfect, it's cheap, it's got low miles, everything seems great until you see it. Blown head gasket. You start wondering, can I fix a head gasket? What does it even take? How hard could it really be, and how much could it actually cost? Well, luckily, we've got the perfect lab rat for such an experiment, and it's right over there. This isn't the only Money Pit Miata in the family. Eddie owns one too, and the head gasket is blown. On this episode of Money Pit, can we make a video the other way around?
Probably not.
Have not seen these yet, so.
No.
Boost creeps, hoodie. Who's that handsome boy? Man, what a good looking hoodie. We reworked the logo a little bit. Now it's in yellow, really pops against that black. We added an arm hit so you can fly that donut flag. I'm gonna rock mine all fall, all winter. Go to donutmedia.com and get you one. They're probably gonna sell out, so I would get it sooner than later.
So I've had this Miata for a minute, and not too long ago this happened.
I think we might have broke something.
That's normal, right, bro? So I blew the head gasket, and generally speaking, when you do that, that's not the only thing that goes. I also overheated it. So I figured while I was in here, I'd go ahead and take the whole thing apart and really go ahead and start from scratch. So I took it to a local machine shop here in the valley, and then I had them basically start from zero.
So this is what's called an MLS, or a multi-layer steel head gasket. This is the seal that goes between the bottom of your engine, the block, and the top of your engine, the head. And its job is to make a pressure-tight seal between the different systems that are at play in your engine. So we've obviously got our combustion chambers where all the compression is happening to make power and actually drive the car down the street. So obviously you want that to be sealed up so that no compression can leak out. But we've also got our oil passages where oil goes from the block up into the head, and we need those to be sealed off so that no oil leaks. And there's also coolant keeping the engine nice and cool. And those need to be sealed as well so that you don't get oil in your coolant, coolant in your oil, or oil in your combustion chamber, or coolant in your combustion chamber. The fact is that this is a pretty simple thing, and it's really not that hard to install, and it's also not that expensive. So why are people so afraid of them? It's a very long and arduous process to install a head gasket. Let me show you. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you had a good time. Follow Donut. All right, so now that we've made it sound way too easy to replace a head gasket, let's show you where the actual work lies, which is over here. If you're replacing a head gasket, you're gonna have to do a lot of work to get to this point. I mean, just here, Eddie's had to take off his intake manifold, his exhaust manifold, take off the air conditioning, take off the head and everything attached to it, and now we're down to the head gasket. There's a lot of work that goes into getting us to this point. Basically, everything that comes in this video from this point forward, but in reverse. Does that make sense? You've already gotten it all taken apart to replace the head gasket. We've got everything we need, and you're confident about that.
Yeah. I am 95% certain
I'll take that
this car is going to start today and work on all 4 cylinders.
I will take that. That's more confident than I've been going into any episode.
If this car didn't start today, I'm buying a new one tomorrow.
Something that is paramount to installing a head gasket is making sure that the gasket surface is clean, or else the head gasket doesn't stand a chance to do its job. Yep. Down. There you go. The head gasket was in there, right?
Don't scare me like that.
All right, so my boy Eddie's getting the torque wrench and we are ready to torque down the head. But the way you do that matters. There is a sequence and you need to follow it. And honestly, it's really simple, but we should talk about it. So in this case, and in most cases, what we're gonna do is tighten down from the center out, just so we tighten everything down nice and evenly. Like if we tighten down the entire intake side first and then tighten down the exhaust side, we'd probably warp the head. We would forcefully warp it because one side would be tightened down and then we would force the other side down. We don't want to do that. We want to make things go down evenly. So we'll start in the middle, torque these two down, then we'll move here, then we'll move back here, then we'll move up here, then we'll move back here. Bro, that's not the pattern.
For real? Unbelievable.
All right, so once you take an engine all the way apart to replace the head gasket or whatever you're doing, you're gonna have to get it back in time. The top end, the cams need to know where the pistons are at or else things aren't gonna run. We've got an extension in cylinder number 1, dropped down the spark plug hole, and Eddie's gonna turn the crank with a ratchet. Now, as we do that, the extension we've got here will act as a visual representation of what's going on in cylinder 1. And we're looking for top dead center, the very top of its stroke. And that's basically the first ingredient to our timing recipe.
So now that cylinder 1 is at top dead center, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same to the cams. Basically, there's these little notches on the front here that line up perfectly with our gears. So just give this boy a twist right here until that notch is facing straight at 12 o'clock. And then once we have that there, we know everything's in time. So if we did everything correctly and everything's in time, we should have 19 teeth between each cam gear here. So now we just basically got to go ahead and put the timing belt tensioner on and we're in time. This is going to be the first time she turns over. Blah, 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 blah. It's super smooth.
Hey, I like this.
Yeah, what a role reversal.
Gorgeous.
Now I have to take off the front wheels. There's like a little bracket that holds up the intake manifold, and only way to access that is from the bottom. So basically here's the entire harness for our coil pack and our injectors here. Basically the ground and everything we need to get our entire fuel system up and running.
I can't tell you guys how much I'm enjoying today's episode. Just supervising, offering a word of support every now and then, sometimes a negative word.
Just to get me to go quicker, right?
Mostly to hurt your feelings. Not quite the cooling setup that we've got in the other one, but it'll do.
And we got the second half of the top part of the manifold here going in.
All right, we've made a lot of progress. The engine itself is pretty much back together, and I feel like this thing's gonna run pretty soon.
I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't work at this point.
Those are the most frightening things you can say, my guy.
I know, I know.
All right, so Eddie, in terms of whether or not this has been worth it, what do you think?
With $950 basically put into this build, when it turns on, it's gonna be absolutely worth it. Yeah, if it does not turn on after everything we've done today and everything I've done thus far, the money, the hours, then I would say it's 100% not worth it. So last thing there is to do is to top it off with this distilled water and then see if it turns over, see if it runs.
All right.
If I were to go ahead and gauge the odds of this all working here, I'm gonna stick with my original guess.
95%.
So I'm gonna say 95%. Okay. All right, here goes literally everything.
Yeah, baby. Get that fuel pressure.
It turned on.
There's a slightly odd noise coming from the engine bay though. Well, what's up?
I don't know. Should I just turn it over and see what happens?
Yeah. You hear that?
Yeah, what's that?
I don't know. Listen, it sounds healthy, like it's probably great. I don't know what that kind of whipping noise is.
No.
Like, it's idling pretty solid now. Yeah, that noise is a little suspect. There's probably like an idle setting process that you need to go through. Yeah, that's a 1999 Mazda Miata idling on its own behind us. So from here, obviously things aren't quite perfect.
Right.
There's a little bit of work left to be done. It does idle, but it's a little rough. So it can be a little bit hairy to pick up somebody else's broken project without really knowing what's going on. You know, maybe they kept driving it after it blew up and then the engine is toast. The head gasket is not necessarily the only thing that needs replaced anymore. Now, there is one thing to consider, I think, that is important, and it's that you broke this car. That's a lot different, I think, than taking on somebody else's project that has a blown head gasket. So if you're thinking about it, you really got to get in and do your research and also understand you're taking a gamble. Well, hey, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed a little field trip today. Eddie's got a car again, so thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram at Zach Job, follow Eddie at Eddie Esparza. Of course, follow Donut on all social media at Donut Media, and we'll see you guys next week.